true lovers. Soulmate. You know the one. That soulmate who is definitely coming. As soon as Mercury goes direct, you finish your healing and the algorithm finally stops showing you people who think emotional intelligence is a TikTok filter. Yep, any day now. Hi. Oh, I love that snort. I'm Haim with Be Love Media, and today we'll chat about the juncture between the wisdom of the Tao Te Ching and your love life. I'm passionate about helping true lovers like you stop chasing the idea of perfect love and start attracting soul-nourishing relationships rooted in spiritual balance and emotional maturity. Those of you who know my story by now, the reason why I'm sitting here today speaking about this topic of finding your ultimate soulmate, as Kabbalah calls it, your true love relationship, is because I've been in all the wrong ones. I've made all the wrong choices of partners. I've gone all the wrong paths that I shouldn't have gone. And now I'm here to share with you what I found out so you don't have to, hopefully, have to go through that. Some of you already been through a lot. Some of you are thinking of giving up on love. And I say no. No, if you have it within you to still aspire for that special relationship that nourishes us, that nurtures us, it doesn't mean it completes us. We should be complete before we get to that relationship. Otherwise, we probably never will. We should be able to be within our own stillness before we look for that other energy. However, it is out there for those of us who are willing to do the shadow work, to do the light work, to look introspectively into our darkness and work on it. It is there. If you become that soulmate, that's what I found out, you will attract that soulmate. Guaranteed. And after 3 failed marriages, after 3 heartbreaking divorces, one of which also gave me my amazing son. He's now 8 years old and he fills my heart with joy every time I'm with him. But nonetheless, I had to go through the worst relationship of my entire lifetime with his mother, one of my exes. Was it really necessary? I would say yes, I had to go through that. That was my karma, that is my karma, and that is what Kabbalah would call my tikkun, my correction. And there's no shortcuts in that game. But a little bit of awareness can go a long way for us. And that's my hope for you, that you will get some kind of nugget out of this episode or out of this 81 series, 81 episode series, the Tao Te Ching 81 verses, with their connection to your love life, dating, finding your true soulmate. So, if you stick around till the end of this video, I promise to gift you 3 practical tips to your dating life based on this specific verse 13. And hey, before we go full down mode, like, subscribe, and tap that bell like it's your own divine inner compass finally going off. Verse 13 of the Tao Te Ching. Let's breathe this one in together, and here it comes. Quote as translated by Mitchell. Favor and disgrace seem alarming. High status greatly afflicts your person. Why are favor and disgrace alarming? Seeking favor is degrading. Getting it is disturbing. Losing it is disturbing. Why does high status greatly afflict your person? I have great suffering because I have a body. If I didn't have a body, what suffering could I have? Therefore, those who value the self as much as the world can be entrusted with the world. Those who love the self as much as the world can be given the world to care for. Close quote. So let's take 5 takeaways from Tao Te Ching verse 13 and choosing a partner. Let's break it down for the romantic battlefield. Number 1, beware of validation chasers. If someone constantly seeks praise or needs your attention, like a spiritual IV drip, they may not be ready to love you. They're still trying to love themselves. So that goes back to, can that person listen? But before you can look for somebody who can listen, can you listen? I used to think most of my life, oh yeah, I'm a great listener. Come to find out I wasn't. When you really study the art of listening, some people call it active listening, but that kind of turned into a new age gimmick, to pretend to listen. How you know you listen is, while you're listening to them, is your mind occupied with what you're going to say next? That's when you know you don't. Let me give you another trick. When you listen to someone, as soon as they finish the sentence, there is a desire for many of us. I know I do, because I'm a talker. I love talking, right? Probably love talking more than I like listening. But when I listen to somebody, not from the right place of giving, the right place of true listening, I'm waiting for that little break that they have in their share so that I can jump in and share. Try this one out for size. When somebody's sharing something with you and they're supposedly done, listen 5 more seconds. Listen 10 more seconds. Say nothing. Just be with it. You'll be surprised the kind of share that comes after the main share. And that's part of true listening, right? The next level of listening beyond that, beyond just the length of listening, is, can you empathize? Can you feel their pain if they're sharing something painful? Can you feel their joy if they're sharing something joyful? Truly. Now, I'm not saying it's easy. For some of us, it may take years to develop that. But it's a blessing to go on that journey of learning to be a good listener. 2, favor feels good, but don't base your worth on it. When we look for a partner to validate us, we set ourselves up for spiritual whiplash. Approval is a high. Attachment to it is the hangover. As I was going, like I shared, through my work, my self-work, my self-development, my shadow work, right after my third and, as far as I'm concerned, my last divorce, I took some therapy. I did all kinds of things. One of them was therapy for a year. And my psychotherapist at the time said, why is it so important for you that your partner will be such and such? Like either they have to be pretty, or they have to be, they have that kind of looks, so they have to have that kind of profession. Why is it so important to you? And I didn't really know what to answer. And she waited, and when she saw I had no answer, she said, I think it's because you're looking for validation in who you are with. Meaning, when you go into a room with a partner, with somebody you're dating, with your girlfriend, are you waiting for that? Oh, wow, your girlfriend looks amazing, or she looks so smart, and you get validation out of that. Aren't you good enough as you are? In fact, aren't you enough? Why do you need validation from who they are so that you feel good, so that people think you're amazing because they're amazing? Get my drift? Something to pay attention to. 3, ego makes a mess of love. If someone's identity is wrapped up in how others see them, it'll be hard for them to see you. Choose someone who can be, not just perform. I always say that when 2 people come together, whether boyfriend, girlfriend, or a committed relationship or marriage, I say that it's not two people coming together. It's four entities come together. It's me and them, and it's my ego and their ego. And the whole idea of ego is a whole topic too. And I'm not necessarily referring to the Freudian concept of ego. I'm specifically talking about the selfish part of me. And when I'm insecure, which we all have some level of insecurity, when I am, it's a spectrum, right? When I am sensitive about certain things, when you can't talk about certain things around me. I used to be in a relationship where we couldn't talk about sex and we couldn't talk about money, because whenever we did, some kind of an argument would erupt. So there was a lot of sensitivities on both ends, and that wasn't serving us, right? So pay attention for how their identity is wrapped up in how they're being viewed. One of the incredible self-development seminar series that I did for years and years ago was focused in part on the obsession we all have with wanting to look good and avoiding looking bad. Enough said, something for you to look into. Body equal suffering. Translation, attachment equal pain. Lao Tzu, the writer of the Tao Te Ching 2600 years ago, reminds us that clinging causes suffering. So if your date already owns a time-sharing codependency, maybe keep swiping. And I know I was codependent most of my adult life. And it wasn't until I kicked that habit that I created an opening, a clearing for true bliss in my next relationship. One quick example was when I was in my early 20s and I met the person who would become later my first wife. Imagine how young we were. She was actually a tourist in my home country, and we had a lovely, I would say, fling. And then 3 months into it, she said, I have to go back to my home country. I was just visiting here, as you know, and I'm running out of visa. I think it's time for us to say goodbye. And what I should have done at that time, if I was listening to Lao Tzu, I should have said to myself, yeah, as much as I enjoy her company and with all the passion and everything, yeah, it's not meant to be more than that. If I had the foresight, the insight, I didn't. So guess what? I clung to her, she clung to me, and that beautiful summer love affair in my early 20s became a painful story for another video, because we didn't know, I didn't have the wisdom, and I didn't have the emotional endurance to stop it when it was time for us to move on. So clinging to my bodily desires can really hurt us. Number 5, self-love is the real love language. A partner who values themselves, not from ego, but from grounded self-awareness, can value you fully too. And this is one of the biggest thing, if not the biggest thing, that I realized coming out of my third failed marriage, the beginning of the divorce process of my third painful divorce. I realized really quickly that I could crystallize my main challenge, my main issue that led me to all these painful relationships, I was able to connect it to lack of self-love. And while I was still with that person, the relationship was starting to show some serious points of pain. And I decided right there and then that I am love. And I can share with you the Abraham Hicks Rampage of Self-Love another time. You can look it up on YouTube. Powerful, powerful stuff. And I would just chant this affirmation, this mantra of I am love as many times as I can possibly do. And it took months, if not years, for that to seep into my DNA, to the point where I was like, yeah, I do deserve love. I am love. I do deserve somebody who knows how to love, how to listen, how to care, how to be given, and not just me being a giver with another taker, as was my pattern, or a victim, which was my pattern, with another narcissist of sorts. I can be with another giver. I can be with somebody who knows how to care for another. And that, I believe, was one of the biggest things that led me to my beloved Rachel, my current wife, my best friend, because I finally realized that I am enough, that I am worthy of self-love, hence worthy of another person's love, without having to prove myself, which is another thing. So, as promised, since you stuck around, thank you. 3 practical tips from the Tao Te Ching, verse 13, for dating. So here's your spiritual cheat sheet, true lovers. Number 1, observe how they respond to both praise and criticism. Can they hold both without losing themselves, without getting triggered, without getting angry? Emotional maturity isn't about perfection. It's about balance. I remember when I got together, granted my previous relationships, especially my last failed one, was filled with trigger words and arguments and fights and you name it, lots of fire of the wrong kind. When I got together with my beloved Rachel, I remember coming from past trauma, right? You know what it is to feel a little bit trauma, if not a lot, from past relationship, where you know if you say the wrong thing, boom, if you step on the wrong eggshell, you're gonna trigger a fight, right? I'm sure some of you are familiar with that. Some of us, it's within our families too. And I remember saying something that I thought maybe was either not the most sensitive thing I could say, and I was waiting for the whiplash. I was waiting for her to say something snarky, and she didn't. And I was like, what am I looking at? That's when I realized, whoa, I think I stumbled onto something different, something special. Somebody who's so secured and loving and empathetic and understanding that they're not rushing into the next fight, or they're not rushing into misconstrue what I just said, and they assume that I meant something well with it. Very, very special moment. 2, notice their relationship with status. If they're obsessed with clout, image, or being seen, ask yourself, are they building a connection or a brand? Watch out for those Facebook avid, social media avid users. Nothing wrong with that. That's actually where I met my beloved Rachel. But in our specific case, I'm not saying it's for everybody, right after we met, a couple of months into it, we decided to jump off social media and we never looked back. I might use social media for business purposes. It's no longer where I get my validation, nor do I need it other than for my own wife. And even with her, it's hopefully in a mature way. I don't need 100 likes to feel good every day. 3, prioritize people who practice self-love. If they don't respect their own time, body, or boundaries, they won't respect yours either. One of the many things you can look for is, do they have self-care routines? Do they give themselves time for massage, for meditation, for hiking in nature, spending time with loved ones? Or is it just work, 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 work until they're exhausted? That's not somebody who practices self-love. For instance, look for someone who lives in alignment, not just talks about alignment. True lovers, if this resonated with your soul, cracked open your heart, or gently roasted your dating patterns like a ceremonial cacao latte, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Be Love Media, because every click is one step closer to raising the vibration of love, and one step further from dating someone who thinks spiritual growth means buying more crystals. Until next time, may your self-worth be stable, your standards be high, and your soulmate search be less chaotic than your group text on Valentine's Day. Stay aligned, stay aware, and remember, the one you're looking for might just show up the moment you stop needing them to complete you. Namaste, true lovers. And no, don't DM your ex, not even if Venus is in retrograde.